Diane Gilliard is our next speaker. She is a licensed clinical professional counselor and a certified alcohol and drug counselor. She is responsible for the Pillars Teen Substance Abuse Program, which operates here out of Oak Park. Thank you, Diane.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak to you about what I see with clients and their families as they struggle with substance abuse issues. One of the biggest barriers in counseling is the belief that experimentation with alcohol and drugs is an expected, normal part of adolescence. There's also the belief that this practice is harmless and shouldn't be made too big a deal of. In the next few minutes, I'm going to be talking about the risks related to teen substance abuse in general, rather than specific risks for specific drugs. Marijuana and alcohol are the two most commonly used drugs with our teens. Most of the information and the statistics that are used this evening come from the SAMHSA website, and SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, and so that's available and easy to find on your computer. Some of the information I've prepared has been already shared, so I'll gloss over some things a little quickly. Contrary to a lot of the beliefs mentioned above, there are both short-term and long-term physical and psychological effects of substance use by teens. Some of the short-term effects include some of the ones we've heard already this evening: poor decision-making and judgment, slowed reaction time, thought distortion, poisoning from overuse or additives to the drugs, risky choices, and the possibility of long-reaching effects of the consequences of those choices, including STDs, pregnancy, accidents, and involvement in the legal system. Some of the long-term effects include increased risk of life-threatening diseases such as neurological problems, cardiovascular problems, cancer, liver problems, and addiction. Increased risk of mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. Substance use at early ages also greatly increases the risk of mental health issues, legal issues, domestic violence, socioeconomic problems, and other kinds of issues that come up later in life. And we're talking about a 4 to 5 times increase in the risk of those kind of problems when teens use early. Learning and development is greatly affected, and Margot talked a lot about that. But because alcohol and drugs affect thinking, problem solving, learning, motivation, and memory, of course the school is affected. Without access to these schools, school performance deteriorates, and that's certainly one thing that parents often notice when kids start experimenting with drugs, as they see some changes in school. The teen years are also crucial times for the development of the executive functions, and Margot talked about that. When alcohol or drugs are used, the brain loses the critical opportunities to develop these skills that are so necessary to being an independent adult. And so that's very harmful. Teens who drink or use drugs are 5 times more likely to drop out of high school. Part of what I tell kids when I'm working with them is part of their responsibility as a teen is not to close doors. They may not know what they want to do. They may not know exactly what they want to study, or do they want to go to college, or do they want to go to vocational school? But they don't want to close doors. They want to leave. They want to have the best opportunities for making choices with the rest of their life so that they can go where they want to go and do what they want to do. Some of the warning signs, and you probably know a lot of these. Certainly, if you see a kid who's having trouble walking or slurred speech, the red bloodshot eyes, changes in the pupil, whether it's dilated or constricted, depending on the drug, unusual silliness for no reason, forgetfulness, memory issues, the smell of alcohol or other chemicals, either on their breath or their clothes. Changes in friends, and this is a big one, is that oftentimes when I work with kids who are involved in drug and alcohol, and I ask, them about what they think the percentage of kids are that use, they tell me all of them. And they say that because if they are using drug and alcohol, all their friends probably do use, and that's their world, and that's what they see, and that's what they believe. Certainly, the academic performance decreases, and a lot of times truancy or tardiness or other kinds of skipping classes goes along with that. They also start to lose interest in other kinds of activities that they previously were involved in and enjoyed, maybe very good at, things like sports, like music, other kinds of hobbies. They kind of drop out of that, and their fun becomes getting high. They have need for more money. Like has been said before, you might find money missing out of your purse or off the dresser, or things around the house kind of disappearing if they need more money. Margot touched on the question about the potency of marijuana today, and I think that's really important to understand. And with that increased potency, the toxicity of the drug also increases. And what that does is it increases the long and short-term effects, and it increases the likelihood of forming an addiction to marijuana. I know there's a lot of controversy over whether you can get addicted to marijuana or not. I guess what I always tell kids is I've seen too many kids who are in a lot of trouble, and what they need to do to get out of trouble is stop using, and they won't. They can't. That tells me that they have a very special and very important relationship with that drug that's interfering with their life in some major ways. I wanted to talk about some of the common myths. One of the myths is that if substance abuse begins at home during the high school years, there's less chance of binging in college. There's some problems with this. One of the underlying problems is the view of mixed messages that are implicit in parents allowing this kind of behavior. And what you have is the law says this is illegal, but mom and dad say it's okay. So it's very confusing to the kids, and oftentimes they go along with what mom and dad are at least condoning. Also, once the drug has been initiated, it's likely that the amount used or the experimentation with other kinds of drugs may escalate, particularly in a situation such as college, where teens are much more independent and the supervision of their activities is greatly diminished. Oftentimes, parents don't know that there's a problem until they get sent the grades, and by then it's been going on for a while. Time. Stop. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.